Right, welcome back to Hope at Dawn, this being the Christian Walk segment, being a Wednesday, and it's just being empowered, getting that awakening as well, to know that we need to walk and walk in a certain way in this walk of faith. This morning, we are having a very interesting and a very important conversation. It's the power of children ministry. That is what we are discussing this morning, and so you can be part of the show as well. Get in touch with us across all our social media platforms, Hope TV Kenya, across all those platforms. Subscribe, because you can get us also on YouTube. We are live on YouTube as well, Hope TV Kenya, and share the link for someone to be able to learn a thing or two about the power of children's ministry. And to help us with the conversation, unpack this very important conversation, we have a very good friend of ours, a friend of Hope as well, and his name is Reverend George, and Ndung'u. He's coming to us from Sitam Woodley. And so without further ado, allow me to welcome Rev to the studio this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, George.
You well?
I'm well, thank you.
Very sharp.
Yeah.
I like your tie especially.
You want to ask for links?
Links. We talk after. Or he can bless me.
Hey, Jiga, too direct.
Oh, I should camouflage.
Filter.
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi.
No. George is the kind that shoots prostate.
Yeah.
Yes, directly.
Good morning, Rev.
Good morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very glad to be here. Very honored to be with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much.
Stepping in your platform, I am very honored.
Karibu sana. It's an honor to have you as well.
Thank you so much.
And I understand that you are in charge of children ministry.
Sure.
And, that's our topic today. That's our conversation. But I'm very much curious about how you got into that ministry. Is it something you desired, or God just called you to that?
Well, I think if we are to start talking about my journey into children ministry, it's funny. Because I did think it is somebody God used to see that I have the gift, or I have the gift towards it. I had not paid much attention. And I think it is because of maybe some of the things we may see as we discuss around the world of children. You don't take children as the ultimate. So yes, I was sensing God's call, and I was serving. I have served in the missions field, and I was transitioned to serving in the local church. So actually, when I was stationed here at Sitam Valley Road, it is when the senior pastor then, he was doubling up as a bishop then, Bishop Oginde. I think there was already a children pastor, but I think during the safari there is a session that he wanted something to do with children, and I accompanied him, and didn't take long. There was, I think, transfers happening, and I was taken to Woodley on the basis that I'm going to do children ministry. I didn't believe in myself, but somebody had spotted that I had the heart for children, and so yes, there is the call, but there is the heart. So one of the things I doubt, without a doubt, I have had all through is a heart for children. But I think that part of thinking that they are the ones you're called, somehow I think when you're called, you have the sense of thinking you've been called to great people. And you don't, and of course, children are great people in the eyes of Jesus. But when you think of greatness in the eyes of men, you want to stand before other people, not before children.
Not before children.
So when now God showed me that actually greatness in his kingdom is actually standing before children. I was at home, and since then, everyone, even as close as family, my wife, saw that I was at home with my calling now. So since I stepped into the world of children, I sensed that this is where I needed to happen. So 8 years down the line, I can't complain.
That's a long time. That kid who was very tiny has grown.
Imagine, 8-year-old now.
I was shocked that the children that I interacted in first, they were transitioning from maybe what you'd say grade 8. They are now finishing college.
Wow.
So it is a roller coaster. You are interacting with things to do with issues around a preteen or a teen. Now you're talking about somebody talking about they want to transition to marriage. They are talking about dating, and you're wondering, is this the same person?
It's the same person.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, it is amazing, and that's what that now comes towards the title of what you had said, the power
Yeah.
of children ministry, because all those things you desire to see, the career person, a woman or a man at home, the great man we want to see the society, the foundation is laid at childhood. But sometimes we don't, because foundations are hidden, and it is not a place you'll find glamour and everything. You'll not find accolades around areas to do with foundations. You'll find that not many want to go around to work around foundation. We want to come and do touch-ups, do painting.
And in a number of churches, I don't want to say glamorous, but it has not been given the prominence children's ministry, the prominence it deserves. Yet it's a very critical ministry. You find that in some, I've heard and even interacted with some, they don't even invest in the children's ministry to the point that as a parent, I'm now charged to go and teach Sunday school. Yes, I may have the heart, but the calling is off.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And and it's disheartening, especially where you've touched on something that Jesus said, where your heart is, that's where your treasure is. And you've talked about investment. And when we are not taking, we don't take seriously the expense that comes with the work of the children, we are about to fail, because this is a generation that needs investment in. And you will find the world actually is very serious. Could I say, quote unquote, the Disney world is $1 billion kind of, or maybe $1 trillion kind of an industry, all working around the things to do with the children. You will see other the education and all the area to do with information. It is a whole lot of resources that have been poured into as far as what gets into the mind and the heart, or you would say the big doors as far as the eyes, the mouth, even the food. There's so much that is being manufactured for the children, the touch, the ear, and everything. So, but when as a church we stand aloof and we are spectators, seeing information being prepared for them, being apps being made for them, everything, as we are just watching here, or maybe would say as good Pentecostals, we are binding and doing everything we are doing and not doing something. We stand on the wrong side as far as this ministry is concerned. God calls us to take action and step in with our resources. Spend, and you will find that we don't have a problem spending for toys with our children. We don't have problems spending education on education for our children, but sometimes we are not doing so well in spending, especially in investing to see the gospel in the hearts and the minds of our children.
And I'm thinking about dealing with children. There's one time I was telling myself I would really like to be a Sunday school teacher, but I know I'm clueless. Because you may think these are kids ni rahisi, but now having an 8-year experience, I'm sure there's so much you've been able to learn. Maybe you can just let us into understanding what does being in the children's ministry and just dealing with children, what does it entail?
Okay, being in the children ministry, besides what we've talked about, the call, the heart, it is a ministry that I would say, first of all, maybe if we were talking business, and I will come to what our children's worker should possess, it is, you always want to invest where you know you will have maximum returns.
True.
Now, come to think of children ministry, it's where actually you have the highest chance as far as returns are concerned in ministry. Because even talk of life, the length of life, children have a whole life ahead of them.
Yeah.
And so should they, like let's say, for example, like Samuel in the Bible, have the Spirit of God come upon them. We are told that the Spirit of God continued or rested upon Samuel or followed all the days of his life.
Yeah.
And so you have that. But also let me say that children, there is something innately God has put in the children, and that is the receptivity. You will find that as we share the gospel amongst you and I, there is something that has grown, something that has to do with the resistance, and I have to really convince you. I have really to work hard to make you desire or come into what I'm telling you as far as the gospel is concerned. Jesus would say that the kingdom is for such as this. There is such a receptivity with the children that it is not to mean that they don't have a cognitive mind of questioning on everything, but they are ready to receive the kingdom. They are ready to receive. And so that now it takes me to now talking about the worker, the one who wants to work with the children. It is just know that you are going to somebody, it's like a dry sponge being placed in water, that it's ready to absorb as much as its capacity can carry. So what it takes is, first of all, authenticity. Children connect much more with authenticity rather than highly and lofty. You don't have to prove to children that you know much. You don't have to prove a point. Actually, with the heart and the call, now authenticity is the next thing that children connect to. They know they are attracted to that person who genuinely loves them and who is for them. So I don't want to scare you with the many skills that you need to have to come and work with the children.
Yes.
I do. You can be authentic enough and just be with them. Just be willing to learn with them.
Let's look at some of the common of the 8 years you have experienced and firsthand some of the challenges that someone can encounter when doing children's ministry.
The challenges are there, and they're at the macro level, or you would say at the church level. And I want to thank God. By God's grace, I've served in a platform that really, or in a ministry that really values children. I have not had a hard time trying to talk about the aspect of investing or having resources being given towards the children ministry. But because of I don't look at my 8 years within just my service at Sita Mudri. I have had a time to interact with many children ministers across this country. I've gone for trainings, I've gone for missions, and one of the big thing is it is a serious challenge, the investment as far as children is concerned. We still have context of our cultures that feel childhood is not the real season to talk about the gospel. There will come a time or a prime season to talk about the gospel, and unfortunately there is people in missions or missiologists say that actually the idea you have about God, much of it was shaped between a window called 4 to 14. Actually, many Christians across the globe made the initial decisions to follow Jesus at that age.
Wow.
You remember when that time that you learned about hell and you were so scared, you said, I don't want to go to hell. You said, I want to give my life to Jesus.
Yeah.
The initial stage is at childhood. So that is a window that is closing, because at a particular season you will no longer be a child. Now the challenge is not only resources not being put in this window, but also people stepping into this space without equipping. You find that people who are dealing with children are instead, as I said, it is a stage, there is lots of receptivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what the child is receiving is not actually the gospel. Some spaces, I'm sorry to admit that it is the entertainment that the child is receiving.
True.
Some places it is wrong doctrine because the children are not being taught the right discipline. In other words, you'll find that the person standing before the children is not scrutinized. We talked about the call, the heart, the doctrine, the character. Because when there is actually no character, the person in studying of the child becomes an obstacle. So children, I said, they connect to authenticity. So you tell them, let's go east. You are going west.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So that is a big challenge
Yeah.
that is happening in children ministries. That, and you'll find that nobody is scrutinizing this. You'll find that we would come with sledgehammers in discipline if we have found somebody who is dealing with the adults or communicating to the adults to have now inconsistencies. But nobody is paying attention whether the child minister is actually doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So I've heard of a person say, if they are when they are making a decision, as far as our church is concerned, they are looking, and even as equipping is concerned, the child minister needs to be equipped more because they need to be sound doctrinally.
Yes.
They need not and also in faith and calling, but also relevance. That is another challenge that is in children ministries across the world, across our spaces, whereby now what the child is interacting with cannot connect with their world. The way the Jesus I am told about doesn't seem to fit in the education I'm receiving, in the day of the gadgets and everything I'm receiving. So I see that Jesus as a story. He's a history figure.
Yeah.
He's nice stories,
Yeah.
but he's not the one who is the king, who will to be the one who changes my life or changes my heart. Yeah.
Wow, that's very deep. And I'm also thinking now of having to deal with different children.
Yeah.
Does maybe the way they're being brought up in the house?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes, even as parents, one can be tempted to say, see what apata your education, Sunday school. Just the way you can neglect the child and say, wameenda shule, so I don't really need to talk to them much because the teachers are, quote unquote, taking care of them. So do you sometimes maybe see a difference between a child who actually, even when they are at home, you know, they're being still nurtured in the ways of God, and those that are just left for, you know, to get all that in the Sunday school? Is there really a difference? And maybe what's the importance of parents bringing up their kids in the ways of the Lord?
Definitely, I agree with you. There is a big difference because when we come to the scriptures, you look at Deuteronomy, the call in Deuteronomy chapter 6 to disciple the children. Moses is saying, these commandments that I'm giving you today, you're to teach them upon in children, impress them at home, and as you walk, as you eat. And this call is actually to parents. The children ministry, I would say, in the church, the parachurch, is actually what we do in children ministry. It is to start a partnership. We partner with the parent in a work or a calling that they are already in. So if you, and as you have said, there is a child getting lost in the middle because there is somebody who is thinking there somewhere. They are specialists in the faith, called Sunday school teachers.
Yeah.
They will handle this. So, and I've told you about the challenges that the specialist is facing. So, thinking that this child is, and by the way, the Bible has a story about Jesus as a child. That's the story of thinking, because there is a time the parents walked thinking that they had Jesus with them, and then they realized after going for a day or two that they did not have him.
Yeah.
Now the child today is also in that sometimes in that phase, whereby there is you think you have them, you don't have them. It is they are somewhere else, or they are hurt, and so they had to retrace the steps to now go and find where Jesus was. And so the child who is being taught at home, you will find that that child actually, my wife is a Sunday school teacher and tells me of these children, and when you go and realize, she was talking to me about the preparedness, and there are these children that if you are making an error, they can raise up their hand. She teaches ages 10, and they can tell you, but I think, teacher, this and this and this is what the Bible says. And it is because of the power of having children ministry at home. There you've interacted with them at the altar, a family altar. They know it is not just a ritual. They are engaged in it, heart, mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
And so when they go to church, it is just affirming or cementing the direction that they are already in. So definitely there is a big difference between a child whose parents have taken it upon themselves to raise them in the ways of the Lord, and those children who have just been left.
Yeah. And growing up, some of us going to Sunday school was not optional. You had to go. But we are in a dispensation whereby now there is free will, to the point of even Sunday school aged children. Kababa, what do you feel? Kamami, do you feel like going to Sunday school today? And I'm driving at the point where there are some faiths. It's the should I say the toughness,
Strictness.
the strictness, yes, that's the term, the strictness of ensuring that at that young age, you don't have an option. And the things that are taught, they live with them, and it's so routine and everything that they don't even fear now, even those children of other faiths coming to Christian schools, because they know they cannot be converted or influenced. But that's not the case with a section, not all. I don't want to say all Christian children. How then do we ensure we inculcate that culture whereby our children are well grounded from that young age in Christianity?
The scriptures talk about train up the child in the way they should go, and when they grow, they will not depart from it. Your childhood, as you've explained, mom and dad just strictly did that training. So it's just at the part of the training there was a whip.
Yes.
So and the principle cuts across all generations. Even today, God is still calling upon you and I, because now we are the ones now who are raising these children. We are to train, and training has to take all forms as God has given us. He says that we should not put away the rod.
Yes.
Yeah, it is part and parcel of our tools to do the ministry, all the work that He has given us. So yes, I would want to say is when we abdicate the authority and the throne that God has given us, you can be sure the throne will be taken over by somebody else. And so when a parent abdicates that role, somebody else, and who is not having very good intention, is taking up that role. And as I've told you, there is whole aspect. Let's even talk about the space that we are in today in media. There is somebody who has poured in resources and content to take children towards a direction that he desires them to go, and that is a reality we have to face and be at home with. That we have to seriously take up our responsibility. Let me say something as far as 3 things I've considered important or I've seen from the scripture talks about like arrows in Psalm 127. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are children born in one youth. And I one day, and I think I preached this at Sitam Woodley, I looked at what an arrow, how an arrow, the shape of an arrow. And I saw three major parts an arrow has. There is this base part where you place it on the, that you place it on the launch.
Yeah.
And that contains, in African setting, it contains even feathers.
Yeah.
And there is this big long part called the
Yes.
shaft. And of course you must have the tip for it to be called an arrow.
Yes.
And this I summarized this to tackle three areas that we must address when we are dealing with the children in this process of training them. And one of the areas at the base of the arrow, it's that we call the feathers part. I saw it's the character. This part determines the direction the arrow will go. Without it, you will find that like the arrow doesn't have a specific area it can land.
True.
Our children, there is, as you train up the children, there is you somehow as a parent are envisioning what you would like your child to be. This is a woman, this is a man. I desire them to be, to conduct themselves in such a manner. And part of old age, I would say, the joy or the sadness that is in old age, much of it has to do with where the children of somebody's children have landed.
Yeah.
There is something that can happen. There is a place your children can be. And there is so much joy as far as your latter years are concerned.
Yeah.
And so character, the shaping of character, it is important. Don't leave mannerisms, table manners to be that it is YouTube or other aspects that are teaching your children. Teach your children. Let them have a skill that this is what I was taught by my mom.
Yes.
This is how you conduct yourself on a table. This is how you conduct yourself in the society. So character is a big thing as far as the ministry to children, both at home, church, and everywhere is concerned. But there is the big thing, and this one becomes more pronounced when they transition to preteens and youth.
Yeah.
And this is the big part of the arrow. The shaft represents the identity. In fact, there is something coined around being a young person, identity crisis.
Yeah.
That's true.
So who am I? So when a child, the process of, sometimes children, it's like they are just growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody is telling them, you are a boy, you are a man, you are a woman. So when this is not consistently emphasized, there are things that you are not told that you are a man, but everything around you, George, as you're being raised up, told you have to man up.
Yes. Yes.
So that is basically you are, as far as identity is concerned, you are not left in doubt, trying to think, am I this or am I that? So identity is a big thing as far as we do the work with the children is concerned. And lastly is the tip, and that tip has to do with the mission. Why am I here?
Wow.
What was I made for? There is something profound Jesus says as a 12-year-old when his parents come and find him in the book of Luke chapter 2. And he tells the parents, don't you know I have to be about my master's business or my father's business? In other words, this 12-year-old, when he was taken to the temple, somehow he had a sense of clarity.
Yeah.
This is what I was born for. This is what I was made for. And this is something that is clear in quite a number of children. One of the things is that God does not raise great men in the Bible. We see them at the peak. God does not hide childhood of these children from us. He shows us that childhood. And you will find that there is a sense of clarity of purpose
Yeah.
in many of them, even in childhood.
That's true.
There is something that God says about Jeremiah that is even now that twists us. And he says that in chapter 1, he says that before I formed in you in your mother's womb, I called you. So this is a person, as much as he was raised, you would say maybe he was raised from a place of by a priest's home. He had clarity as far as his calling is concerned. And we have to call out the men in our boys, call out the woman in our girls as we are going about them, making them arise to the place of purpose and making them know I was created for this, I was made for this. And one of the I like saying there is one of the movies children like, or cartoon like, called Lion King. And
I like it too.
Oh, you like it? Great.
Yeah.
And there is something so profound when that small lion called Simba is made to, there is a time he was just, that Simba, when he grew up, he was just playing around with a warthog, eating worms. He was even, there is a time that he does not realize that even actually his food is not worms. It is meat. So he interacts with this lioness who had not run away from the place of identity. And so when this lioness ran away, came running after a prey. So it is this Simba protecting a gazelle from another lioness eating it. And this lioness is shocked. What manner of a lion is this that is hindering me from eating meat? So, and it had to take the place of reminding this lion that remember who you are. And so when he remembers, he realizes actually this place called Hakuna Matata is not my home. There is a place I'm called to roar and to reign. And he goes back there and he rules. That is something that we must point our children back to. That we point them, you are actually called to be king. You are called to be a royal priest. And that is what I would definitely say for every Christian following this show. Let your sons and daughters know they were called.
Amen.
And the beautiful part about you using that story, even as you have mentioned the part of character. I mean, Simba had a very interesting character growing up, and that put him in danger. So, I mean, that analogy of character, identity, and then the mission, or rather the purpose, is just very profound. And I think at every stage in this child's life, those they just need to be things that are openly talked about. And maybe, I don't know, we can't even take a break. I mean, time has really flown. But even as we continue our conversation, I'm curious to know, are there things that you have actually learned from these children? Dealing with them.
A lot. I mean, the world of children, in fact, that's what I want to say. I think I forgot to say, the one coming into children should have a willingness to learn. If you have a heart or a willingness to learn, you will have the season that God will give you amongst the children. And so children show you that they are. I've seen preachers in my congregation. There is a time I thought I was just taking a risk. And I gave a boy, and not one, even girls, opportunities to preach. And you see the thoroughness and the profoundness that you see God speaks to children. These are not disciples in waiting. They are real followers of Jesus Christ. And so it has taken me to the space of believers, as when they are to see them as believers. And by the way, when they are 8, 9 years old, for us, we have even now as a ministry undertaken as Christ is the Answer Ministries, we baptize them because they are true followers of Jesus Christ. You allow them to participate in the church ordinances, the Lord's table, the baptism, because they are not disciples in waiting. They are actually real disciples. Another thing I've learned is that not only they hear God and God uses them, but also they are a generation that is hungry. Hungry for solid food. I stopped. I thought that I need to be more entertaining as I go towards the Mount of. It is not what they were looking for. They have better places to be entertained. They are looking for truth. They are looking. So I learned I need to teach them about missions. I need to teach them. And I've seen them reaching out to children that I will never reach, children of other faiths. I was shocked one day when I was doing PPI in a school in my neighborhood around Woodley. We have Kibera and other places.
Yeah.
That the Christian children in my class influenced those who are of the other faith. And they stopped going out of the class during the time of the PPI class.
Wow.
So now you can see girls wearing those adornment of the other faith. In your class, you ask, who want to read the Bible for us? They are reading the Bible for you. You sing a Christian song, they are singing Christian songs with you.
Yeah.
So I asked myself, are these children of the other faith or more Christian? They will recite the memory verse with you. So it is just a matter of time. Yeah, that you will see them manifesting as the children, as the sons and daughters of God.
Yeah.
So that's something I've seen.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Let's talk about what will be happening next week, because usually it's a big event, let me say.
It's a moment we are waiting
exactly. I know. Yeah, because annually we have the DVBS happening across the CITAM assemblies and all. To talk to us about the importance of DVBS, what DVBS also entails for someone who is hearing about DVBS for the very first time.
DVBS is Daily Vacation Bible School. Yeah, I've had people trying to give it other names. Others have called it vocation.
Yeah.
But it's vacation Bible school. It happens when children are on vacation from their different schooling systems. And this is a wonderful time of Bible adventure. We just have a time we dive children into the scripture, You would say it is a time like of Bible exposition. You dive into a time that you look at the scriptures with children in a fun, relevant way. It entails games, it entails music and dance, it entails lessons, and even audiovisual, the use of audiovisual enhancement to make the children understand a Bible truth. One of the principles you learn as you work now with the children is that it works best when you have a child. You just deal with one Bible truth.
Okay.
So don't, and that is a mistake many workers do, is you try to come up with many things to do. Just have this one Bible truth. Communicate it so well that the children will not forget. I've found that I have had a time to watch my son. 3 years, because that is when we start allowing children to come to DVBS. DVBS is for children from ages 3 all the way to ages 14. That one Bible truth, even after a whole year you go, you ask them, what was DVBS 2022 all about? They will tell you.
Wow.
This was what I'm talking about. Hear them, tell them, give me this mountain in his presence. Now we are taking new territories. So we have, like, for the 5 days, 5 lessons prepared for them. They will come in the morning, do drills. Children start with things that you have to engage their psychomotor. Now, let me not break it down and say you have to engage their physical faculties before now you start looking into the Word of God. So you do marching, you do stretch, you do many things like that. So before the child even gets into a class, they are ready, they are excited. You have a time of praise and worship. There's a time that you sing children relevant song and songs that are related to this lesson you will do that particular day. Remember the Bible truth. So this song is communicating the Bible truth. The games you will do and the drills you do, singing or doing things that are related to this Bible truth. And then you have the time you go to the lesson. Then from the lesson you have class activities or crafts that are related to this lesson. This is a time that the child now engages their physical faculties in coloring or cutting for the older ones. Or even now when you come to preteens, this may be kiddish. So what they do for them, they have a journal. That is a season they are expressing themselves. This is what I feel.
Yeah.
This is what I think.
Yeah.
For them, they usually have a journal book. So they express themselves. This is what I feel about today's lesson. This is what I've learned about today's lesson. And actually for like the preteens, their journal is beyond the 5 days. You give them a journal that they will practice for 30 days.
Yeah.
Beyond the DVPS.
Yeah.
So as much as we are invited, that we will have the children from 12th, that is on Monday, to 16th on Friday, and then have a celebration Sunday on 18th. Like for the age 10 and above, they continue interacting with the content even beyond the DVPS.
Yeah.
Let me say in CITAM, this is a time that you will find that the attendance or this is not for children, least for children in CITAM. This is an invitation for all children, and it is absolutely free.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is an expensive program, but somebody has paid for it.
Yeah.
So now the craft, the boards, the journals that the children will go home with, the class activities, somebody has paid for it.
Yeah.
So you'll find that the attendance of the DVPS is usually double or triple, or sometimes assemblies 4 times what you have as the weekly congregational attendance of those children.
Yeah.
So every space in CITAM assembly for next week, it is being occupied.
Back to them. And it's such
Yeah.
a beautiful picture when
Yeah.
you see those children just excited for Jesus. It's
Yeah.
so good. And maybe even before we conclude the show, talk about, why should parents, allow their kids to come for the DVBS, even as you talk about some of the tangible results and the things that you have seen and observed through the DVBS, the impact that it has had on children.
Sure, I think you've talked about tangibles. One of the tangible things is that it will not cost you anything. It is just bringing your child
Yes.
and picking your child.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are not. I've tried to see other ministries replicate like what we have in CITAM, and for sure you will find that a cost is attached to it, because it's a very expensive program.
It is.
Unless somebody decides that I will pay that
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the first thing. The other thing is that your child will be taught the right doctrine. We don't teach them CITAM. We teach them about Jesus. We just allow children to come to Jesus, as he said in Matthew, and we do not hinder them, and so we allow them to come. The other thing I would say it's needful for us to allow our children to come for DVPS is that this is the time they have divine connection, not just with God, but they connect with other friends.
True.
Your child is not living. One of the things that a tragedy we have today is our children are alone, very lonely.
Yeah.
They may be in a crowd, but they are lonely because their operations are around gadgets. The size of families. It's not like you and I, maybe you were grown up in 4 communities. You had community of believers in your home.
True. Yes.
So right now, the child today is having 1 sibling or the child is alone. So this is a time the child is able to learn, is connected with others, and can get to learn to interact with all cadres. Let me say, in DVBS, you have a child coming from lower cadre, from the very poor background, child coming from the affluent spaces, the child in the middle.
Yeah.
And all these children can be in one roof doing the same thing and are able to connect. That is, I would say, is an incentive I would want to present you as a parent today.
Yeah.
Bring your child, because your child, the child you have, will operate in a global space.
Amen.
And has to interact with other people.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. Wow. So all roads next week are leading to CITAM assemblies across the country.
Yes.
So long as there is a CITAM assembly near you,
Yeah.
just drop and pick your child.
Yeah, at 7 a.m. in the
Yes,
morning,
yes.
and pick your child at 12:30 p.m.
So it's a half day event.
Yes.
Awesome. And it's the good thing is that 1, it's free.
Yeah.
Number 2, it's open to everyone, even people of other faiths and
Yes.
everything. So long as you just drop your child,
Yeah.
and then you pick them later. It's huge. It's usually a huge experience, and my children are already looking forward.
Oh, wow.
Yes, to the
Great.
same. So we are
Yeah.
looking forward
Yeah.
to that next week. And maybe you're parting short, Rev, as we are bringing our conversation to a close. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say think about the future. Think about let's say Kenya. The current child I have today in grade 8 will vote, not just will vote in the other general election. So what are you doing about it today? What are you preparing this man? Because the child in your room is in your house is a man in waiting. What kind of a father will this man be? What kind of a mother will this woman be? What kind of a person will these people be? And so Swahili say safari ya kesho hupangwa leo. So start planning and working towards and seeing the man or the woman you envision today as far as that child is concerned. And so part of that is bring your child to DVBS 2024.
Absolutely.
Your child will take new territory.
Yes,
Amen.
that's
Amen.
amazing. And I was sharing earlier on that Karen, our very own, she works here. She actually got born again in the middle of the DVBS.
Wow.
So, I mean, so many testimonies. I mean, it's just beautiful to see children following Christ, and even CITAM having the resources to help them in that journey. It's indeed something that is worth of an upload, actually, because it's huge and it's big, and it's literally creating a foundation for the next generation.
Indeed.
So thank you so much, Rev, for coming through. And maybe you can let people know how they can find you, interact with you, even physically, where they can come and
Yes, please come.
say hello.
Yeah. Thank you. Please. Sitam Woodley is along Gong Road, just off Kanyede Road. You can find me on X and Ndung'u Banga, and then on Meta platforms, just Ndung'u George. You'll find me there, and we can interact. We would interact on Sitam Woodley or Sitam. Even here, I think we are privileged to run a program here on Sundays, every Sunday, through the CITAM broadcast service. We have a service. You can leave your comment sections on those services we have for children's services. We will definitely follow you up and get to interact with you. So very, very, very honored to have participated with you in this program.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yep.
Meta platforms.
Unaziitanga Instagram,
Instagram,
Facebook. It's
meta platforms. We learn every day. The heart of a child.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Rev. Really appreciate also for that sacrifice to come in this morning and just share the story of children's ministry. Thank you so much. And as part of our conversation, Rev mentioned something to do with identity crisis in children, in teens, in adolescents. And our producer, Yuna, is reminding me that tomorrow we will be tackling identity crisis in adolescence. That is what we shall be tackling tomorrow, and we will be having Agi Kahero, the counseling psychologist, come in and help us with that conversation. That is tomorrow during the relationship resonance. So looking forward to seeing each and every one of you. Anyone who has missed today's episode because it was power-packed, make sure you watch, share this link with people so that also they can be able to learn something for your churches as well. Send it to Sunday school teachers, pastors, and all, because iron sharpens iron. We are here also to sharpen one another. From me, George Gishoro, have a fruitful day ahead.
And I wish you a lovely day ahead. Tomorrow will be like a continuation of today for
Definitely.
sure. We've talked about children. Tomorrow it's about the adolescents, and actually touching on the identity part. You know, that the arrow, that one, I'll always have it in my head. It's very easy to remember, but that's what we'll be talking tomorrow. Meaning, if you don't have maybe a young child, but you have an adolescent, then tomorrow's conversation is definitely going to be very much applicable. So from me, Beatrice Nudi, ni kwaheri. We will see you guys tomorrow.